GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Good morning, Montreal. I'm Lauren Dupuis. The Health Department just warned schools about Serena, Quebec resources, and ARTM will be reviewing 8 priority areas for new transit projects through 2029. Later, we'll catch the latest on the Roses' shutout loss. Over to you, Ryan.
The Montreal Roses were shut out by Toronto AFC earlier this week, ending the match without a goal.
Toronto AFC kept a clean sheet, holding the Roses to 0 goals during that earlier week encounter.
The match took place at the downtown stadium, with Toronto AFC dominating possession throughout in the final minutes.
All right, let's get into it. Here's the top headlines for today, starting with the Health Department advisory. Good morning, Montreal. The Montreal Public Health Department has issued an urgent advisory to every city school, warning against the use of reproductive health resources supplied by the nonprofit Serena, Quebec. Officials say the materials contain information that could spread misinformation, create confusion, and trigger anxiety among students. The department, which routinely reviews educational content for health accuracy, flagged the resources after a thorough assessment. School administrators are instructed to halt any distribution of the Serena, Quebec packets until further notice, and to consult the health office for approved alternatives. Parents have been notified that the precaution aims to protect young people from potentially harmful content. The Health Authority will continue monitoring all external educational materials to ensure they meet provincial standards for accuracy and safety. The warning follows a review of similar curricula, and officials emphasize the need for evidence-based teaching. Any school found using the flagged packets could face a compliance review.
Local soccer club the Roses de Montreal suffered a shutout defeat to Toronto AFC early Friday morning. The match, played at a downtown venue, ended with the Roses failing to register a single goal while Toronto AFC secured the win. Coaches and players expressed disappointment after the team's offensive struggles, noting missed opportunities in the opening half. Defensive lapses allowed the visitors to dominate possession and create several scoring chances. The result leaves the Roses with a challenging start to the season and puts pressure on the coaching staff to adjust tactics before the next league fixture. Fans in the stands and those watching on television witnessed a stark contrast to the club's recent performances, underscoring the urgency for a swift response on the field. The club will convene tomorrow to review video analysis and plan improvements.
The Autorité Régionale de Transport Métropolitain announced it will launch a comprehensive study to pinpoint 8 priority zones for large-scale transit projects, with findings expected by 2029. Officials said the analysis will map future transportation needs across the island of Montreal as the Réseau Express Métropolitain nears completion. By targeting specific corridors, the ARTM aims to guide where the next major public transit line should be built before the upcoming provincial election cycle. The agency plans to evaluate ridership trends, growth patterns, and infrastructure gaps before recommending sites for new lines or extensions. Stakeholders will receive a detailed report outlining each of the 8 zones, allowing planners to align funding and construction timelines with long-term mobility goals. The initiative marks the first coordinated effort since the REM's final phases were approved.
The NFL is turning to Quebec's own Anguin de Poitrine for its season kickoff hype. A new TikTok clip will feature the duo's latest track as a countdown to the start of the 2026 campaign. The short video, posted on the league's official account, pairs the upbeat melody with flashing graphics that mark each day until opening weekend. This marks another example of the league's habit of pairing fresh music with social media pushes, and it gives the French-speaking act a national stage beyond the province. Fans can expect the clip to roll out later this week, building excitement ahead of the first game. Anguin de Poitrine joins a growing list of artists whose songs have helped launch NFL seasons, and the partnership highlights the league's interest in tapping Canada's vibrant music scene.
Quebec has once again refused to sign the inter-provincial agreement that would let wineries, distilleries, and breweries ship alcohol straight to consumers in other provinces. The federal government and 9 other provinces are moving forward with a pact aimed at modernizing cross-border sales, but the province announced this morning that it will not join the deal. Officials say Quebec's decision reflects concerns over regulatory control and revenue protection, though they did not detail specific objections. The pending framework would allow producers to bypass traditional provincial distribution channels, offering faster delivery and broader market access. With all other provinces on board, Quebec remains the sole holdout, keeping the country's alcohol market fragmented. The stalemate could affect consumers seeking direct-to-door purchases and may prompt further negotiations in the months ahead. Industry groups have warned that the gap may limit growth for small producers across the nation. Coming up, we will hear how rising youth crime is shaping safety in our province and what it means for families. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
If you run a venue, a comedy night, a concert, a fundraiser, you already know the hardest part isn't the show. It's selling the seats. Theaterfiller changes that. In minutes, you're set up with your own ticketing page, QR code delivery, and a door scanner. No technical headaches. No middleman taking a cut of your night. Your event, your tickets, your revenue. Go to theaterfiller.com and fill every seat.
Welcome back. I hope you're feeling refreshed. Let's jump into today's headlines before we turn it over to Ryan for the local stories.
Yesterday, experts warned that while Quebec's overall crime severity remains among the lowest in Canada, youth involvement in criminal activity is climbing to some of the highest levels in the country. They trace the surge to the lingering effects of the pandemic and a spike in social media use among young people, which they say have amplified opportunities for mischief and more serious offenses. The contrast means the province's overall safety picture looks reassuring, yet neighborhoods are seeing more incidents linked to teenagers and young adults. Police reports show a noticeable uptick in property damage, vandalism, and low-level assaults tied to that age group. Researchers stress that the pattern could strain community resources if it continues, highlighting a gap between the province's generally low crime rates and the growing risk posed by its younger residents.
Yesterday, the congregation overseeing the Villa Maria estate announced that the historic property on Montreal's West End is now on the market. The sale process includes a binding condition that any purchaser must respect the current lease held by Villa Maria College, which continues to operate on the grounds. Officials said the move aims to secure the estate's future while preserving the college's educational use. The property, known for its 19th-century architecture and long community ties, has attracted interest from several prospective buyers. Representatives of the congregation emphasized that the lease agreement will remain in force for the duration specified in the existing contract, ensuring uninterrupted classes and programs. The development marks a significant shift for the area, with the potential to reshape the estate's role in local heritage and education.
Researchers have confirmed the presence of a transmissible cancer in brown bullhead fish captured from Lake Memphremagog in Quebec. The discovery, announced Thursday, July 23 at 06:09:05 Eastern Daylight Time, marks the first documented case of a transmissible cancer in fish within the province. Laboratory analysis identified malignant cells that can spread between individual fish, a phenomenon previously observed only in a few marine species. The team, composed of scientists from provincial and university laboratories, collected samples during routine monitoring and conducted genetic sequencing to verify the cancer's transmissible nature. Histological examination and DNA sequencing confirmed that the malignant cells were identical across multiple specimens, confirming transmissibility. Findings will be submitted to peer-reviewed journals and shared with wildlife management agencies. Officials indicated that monitoring efforts will be expanded to assess the extent of the disease in local fish populations.
CF Montreal returned home from a trip to Nashville with a narrow defeat, falling 1-0 after a single penalty kick decided the match at Geodis Park. The Canadian side failed to register a response to Nashville SC's spot kick, which arrived in the first half and proved decisive. The regular season MLS contest, played on July 22nd, left the Montreal squad without a goal and the visitors with all 3 points. Fans watching the game saw a disciplined defensive effort from Montreal that ultimately could not prevent the decisive spot kick. Both squads displayed a measured tempo, with the decisive moment arriving early and the remainder of the contest remaining tightly contested. The penalty was the sole scoring event, and Nashville secured all 3 points from the encounter. The result adds another chapter to the season's ongoing rivalry between the two clubs.
Dedmon is set to make his first appearance in a Montreal Alouettes uniform Sunday against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The 6'5" defensive end joins the CFL club after a stint on the practice roster, and his debut adds a new face to the lineup for fans tuning in at Molson Stadium or catching the game on television. The Alouettes, a Canadian Football League franchise based in Montreal, host the Tiger Cats, who travel from Hamilton for the showdown. Montreal residents can expect a lively crowd as the Alouettes aim to improve their standing in the regular season race. Coach Kari Jones highlighted Dedmon's speed and tackling ability during the week's practice sessions, saying the rookie's energy could boost the defense. The matchup marks the team's third home game this month, offering a chance for families to enjoy a Saturday night tradition of Canadian football under the lights.
Now let's get a quick look at today's forecast with our weather team.
A robust high-pressure ridge, reinforced by a westerly jet, guarantees dry, stable conditions across Montreal today. On this date, the all-time high reached 32.3 Celsius back in 2025, set during a lingering heat wave that pushed the city into the mid-30s for several days. The record low of 10.4 Celsius fell in 2013, when a sudden Arctic front plunged the region into an unseasonal cold snap. By contrast, the climate normal for July 23rd sits around 22 Celsius for the high and 16 for the low, underscoring how today's readings sit comfortably between the extremes. The live radar screen is completely clear across southern Quebec, with no echoes of rain or snow. That emptiness reflects the high-pressure dome that is lifting northward, capping any ascent and keeping moisture locked out. With the westerly jet aloft moving at roughly 64 kilometers per hour, any lingering cloud bands are being sheared eastward. The next few hours will remain dry as we shift to today's forecast. At 7, Montreal sits under 15 Celsius clear skies, humidity 75% and a light southwest breeze. The surface high pressure is rising, sealing in dry air and suppressing showers. Above, a westerly jet stream blows at roughly 64 kilometers per hour, steering upper-level disturbances east of the province. Temperatures will climb, reaching 19 Celsius by 9, 23 by noon and a peak of 26 around 3. Clouds drift in mid-afternoon, making the sky overcast briefly, then clear again by early evening. UV index 6, wind gusts up to 28 kilometers per hour from the southwest, feeling brisk. No weather alerts are in effect, so outdoor plans can proceed unimpeded. With the ridge holding, we now turn to the 5-day outlook. Friday continues the high-pressure pattern with a high of 26 Celsius and a low of 15, keeping skies clear. Saturday warms to a high of 30 Celsius, low 16, marking the warmest day of the week under the same ridge. Sunday remains warm at 29 Celsius high and 18 low, still clear but with the sun lingering later. Monday introduces a subtle shift as the ridge weakens. A high of 29 Celsius and low of 21 will dominate, yet a 35% chance of rain brings the first chance of showers, mainly late afternoon. Tuesday sees the jet stream nudging closer, delivering a high of 28 Celsius, low 20, overcast conditions, and a 65% rain probability, signaling a cooler, wetter finish to the period. And that's your weather. Remember, the local sunrise is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.
Coming up, traffic updates for the morning commute, a preview of tonight's IVE Montreal event, and the Habs season opener. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
All major routes are moving freely this morning. Autoroute 15 runs clear eastbound and westbound with no slowdowns reported. St. Laurent Boulevard, Décarie, and the Ville-Marie Expressway are also free of congestion. Downtown streets, including Rue St. Paul and St. Denis, are flowing at normal speed. With no accidents or construction reported, commuters can expect a smooth start to their day. Looking ahead, the usual mid-morning build-up begins around 10 o'clock. Expect heavier traffic on Autoroute 15 eastbound toward the airport and on the Décarie and St. Laurent corridors as office workers head downtown. The southwest quadrant, especially the Côte-Saint Lucian and the St. Hubert area, tends to see a gradual increase after 11. Keep an eye on those routes if you're planning an afternoon trip. Also keep an eye on the Sherbrooke corridor and St. Charles Boulevard, where traffic often thickens as the afternoon peaks. Transit remains on schedule, with all metro and bus lines operating normally.
First up, IVE takes the Bell Center tonight. a major K-pop showcase that promises high-energy choreography and a chance to hear their latest hits live. If comedy is more your style, the Just for Laughs Gala is open at Theater Maisonneuve, delivering a world-class lineup of international stand-up that will have you laughing all night. For a different kind of night out, hop aboard the Gourmet Soup Cruise on the St. Lawrence, where a curated dinner and DJ spun beats roll out against the city skyline, perfect for a relaxed weekend vibe. And for literary lovers, the Edgar Allan Poe Speakeasy at Le Salon Richmond offers a 90-minute immersive cocktail experience that brings 4 of Poe's famous tales to life. Looking ahead, tomorrow the Heist Immersive Theater drops into a 1920 speakeasy at Le 4-letter 1DB1 Mur, and later this week J. Cole lands at the Bell Center, promising a hip-hop showdown you won't want to miss. And now here's Tyler with sports.
Hockey's back on the horizon, and Montreal's season opener is set. Mark your calendars, Habs fans. The Montreal Canadiens will hit the road to face the Toronto Maple Leafs on NHL opening night, September 29th. It's an all-Canadian start to the 2026-27 season, with Edmonton hosting Vancouver later that same evening, according to CBC Sports NHL. Mark your calendar, Habs fans. The Montreal Canadiens will open the 2026-2027 NHL season on the road against the Toronto Maple Leafs on September 29th. CBC Sports reports it is part of an all-Canadian opening night that also features Edmonton hosting Vancouver. A chapter has closed in Montreal. The Canadiens have traded forward Brendan Gallagher to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for future considerations. CBC Sports reported the deal, marking the end of Gallagher's run with the organization where he spent the bulk of his NHL career.
On the plateau, Pajar, the iconic Montreal maker of boots and outerwear, keeps its workshops right in the neighborhood that inspired its designs. The company, celebrated for handcrafted winter boots, is now bracing for a new wave of U.S. tariffs that could add 50% to the cost of Canadian-made apparel. Pajar's leadership says the levy threatens the dozens of skilled jobs that sustain the local supply chain, from seamstresses to leather cutters. While the brand has resisted outsourcing, the tariff could force a hard look at pricing, inventory, and even the future of its downtown factory. For Montrealers, Pajar isn't just a label. It's a piece of our winter heritage, stitched into the very streets we walk. And later, we'll celebrate how Pajar is stitching hope through tough new tariffs, turning challenges into fresh opportunities for Montreal's fashion scene.
Coming up tonight at 6, the local sunset. Your neighborhood, your city, your news. From City Hall decisions to the stories happening right on your street, we cover what matters most to Montrealers. Join us tonight at 6 p.m. on GMNA for the local sunset, Montreal's evening newscast.
On a crisp Saturday morning on Rue St. Laurent, near the iconic Stade Saputo, a small crowd of families, schoolchildren and longtime supporters gathered around a freshly painted mural that celebrates CF Montreal's new season. Former captain Patrice Bernier, still wearing his familiar red scarf, slipped a signed jersey into the hands of 8-year-old Maya, whose eyes widened as the number on the back matched the one she's been dreaming of since she first watched a match on television. Around them, volunteers from the local community center arranged rows of homemade banners, each one stitched with the words "Defense with Heart, Attack with Joy." The scent of fresh coffee from a nearby bakery mingled with the faint echo of a cheering crowd that had gathered for a pre-match pep talk. When the sun rose higher, the mural's bright colors seemed to pulse, reflecting the city's collective hope that the team's balanced strategy, steady at the back and daring up front, will bring the community together against a star-studded Inter Miami side. It's a reminder that every pass, every cheer, and every shared moment builds the spirit that carries us forward.
In downtown Montreal, just a few blocks from the bustling St. Laurent Market, we hear a story that stretches far beyond the city's borders. Amazon's Canadian operations have opened a new emergency response hub in the prairie town of Lethbridge, Alberta, dedicated to supporting Quebec's crews battling the fierce forest fires that have blanketed the Laurentides and Montérégie regions. The hub, housed in a repurposed warehouse, hums with activity as trucks are loaded with fire-retardant foam, portable generators, and fresh water. One volunteer, a former firefighter from Montreal, described how a single pallet of equipment, dispatched from Lethbridge, arrived at a remote outpost just as night fell, allowing a team to keep a critical firebreak illuminated and safe. That moment, the instant the lights flickered on and the flames retreated a little further, reminds us how collaboration can turn distance into a lifeline. Families in Verdun have gathered to send thank you notes, and the city's fire department chief praised the swift logistics that have saved both homes and forests. As the sun rises over Montreal, we're reminded that when communities unite, even the toughest challenges feel a little lighter.
Thank you, Montreal, for joining us this evening. Tonight's discovery of a transmissible cancer in Quebec fish reminded us how science keeps us vigilant. We appreciate your trust in the local sunrise, and we'll be back tomorrow with more stories that matter to our city. Stay safe and see you then.